moves again. And that covers a huge range of possible outcomes. There is the survival of Ukraine, which in itself is a victory when Russia is seeking so hard to destroy it, at one extreme, however you define it, whether it is the full engagement of Ukraine with all of these structures to which it has the right to belong, or simply continuing to resist, to be resilient, to defy Russia. Any of those is a victory. At the other extreme, there are options that are probably by now off the table. Now, a lot of people in this room have heard already the story of how a senior diplomat in London years ago, briefed people from this organization at the end of his tour on what it would take to turn Russia into a country that was no longer intent on invading and destroying its neighbors. He had a policy prescription. He said, what you need to do, referring to the Western allies, what you need to do is do to Russia what you did to Germany and Japan. Wage total war on it, bomb it flat, invade it, occupy it for a period not just of decades but of generations, completely rewrite its constitution, overhaul its educational system, re-educate the public, and then, after several generations, you will have a country that can live at peace with its neighbors. Now that is not going to happen. So the best case outcome is somewhere else along that spectrum. But the worst case outcome in the long term is for there to be something that appears like a victory in the terms of end of hostilities, which allows European leaders to convince themselves that the problem has gone away. If there is a ceasefire without conditions, if there is an end to the war which cements Russian gains in place, if the major combat operations cease, and then Europe thinks we can take our foot off the throttle for rearmament, for building our resilience, for preparing ourselves for the next time Russia seeks to attack a neighbor, then we will be in even deeper trouble than we were before. So that question of what exactly the Ukrainian victory looks like is absolutely crucial for Europe's future defense and security, as it always has been.
Thank you very much for kind of outlining it. And here I would like to move to the area that has been preoccupying a lot of people hopeful that there could be a settlement, especially when Trump came to office this year. He was very resolute that he wants to end this war, that he'll somehow have this relationship with Putin that will stop the killing of people. For one thing, genuinely, he wanted to stop the killing. It's not going according to the plan. And actually, I see the relations between the Alaska summit when Putin was brought out the cold, and now the escalation and disruption of major airports, the drones and the cyber attacks within NATO territory. But if we take for a moment this assumption that that the only way this war will end is through the negotiated settlement with Russia, right? Surely it cannot be defeated, some people say. So Ukraine will have to sit at the table, will have to negotiate with whoever is in the Kremlin. Arseniy, you have spent a lot of time, with Minsk agreements that Ukraine had about 200 rounds after the annexation of Crimea and the beginning of the war in Donbass. Do you believe there could be any pressure that could be put on Putin to actually negotiate in honest way with Ukraine?
Well, the first time I met Putin face to face, it was in 2005. He has changed, definitely, but the thing is that this is a very cunning, foxy and sneaky KGB operative. And we have to realize, our Western friends have to realize, it is too late to realize. And he plays with the people, he easily scrutinizes them, he reads the psychology of the counterparts, so he's good at that. That's what he was actually studied in the KGB institutions. You mentioned negotiations. Look, give me a break. There is no negotiations at all. They've pretended. It was a sham negotiations. They sent a no-name to Istanbul, if I'm not mistaken, to pretend that they are acting in a good faith. And there was only one person aimed at getting this kind of signal, and it was President Trump. So Putin's idea was very clear: to drag his feet, to play all of us, and mainly President Trump, and to do his best in order to avoid the next round of sanctions and in order to avoid escalations with the new US administration. So that's the first point. The second one, you mentioned that there are a number of pundits and folks who say that, look, this war could be settled at the negotiating table via the diplomatic solution. I don't buy it at all. This war won't be settled by diplomacy. And here is the reason why. We are completely irreconcilable. He wants to kill us, and we want to live. Tell me, where could we find the common ground? Maybe we should find some kind of extraordinary diplomat who will provide us this kind of common ground. But I am not sure that he exists on this earth. So, going back to the question you've raised, there is only one way to make Ukraine to win. And with all due respect, you said that it's up to Ukraine to decide the terms and conditions of the peace.
That's what we hear often.
Yeah, and I like this. I like this kind of statement, and I really admire. But here is the thing. If we are let alone to decide, Putin will get what he wants. And he wants an entire Ukraine. And he is ready to cut the deal. He is ready to get so-called peace at any price for Ukraine, but at the best price for him, with the capitulation of Ukraine. So we desperately need your support. I mean, the support of the Western world. And that's what he was playing for. He expected that the US administration will turn its back on Ukraine and that there will be a huge fragility within the European Union, which we actually witness right now, okay? Undecisiveness, never-ending talk shops. And in this way, this kind of the war of attrition will deliver the best result for Putin, which is Ukraine and the restoration of the Soviet Union. And last but not least, you've just mentioned Putin, I mean Russia. Yeah. That it is Russia that is waging the war. Let me provide you with the bigger scope. It is not Russia. This is an international conflict. China is providing a lifeline to Russia. China is supporting this war. China is an accomplice in this war. China is a key partner of North Korea that deployed its troops against Ukraine and provides an ammo in this war against Ukraine. China is an ally to Iran. So, given that, look, China, Russia, and another pariahs, they present a totalitarian regime that is fighting against the democracy and the free world. So, this is the definition of this conflict. It is not just Russo-Ukrainian war. It is bigger.
Yes. Thanks for bringing that perspective. And now, if Kira, I ask you the same question, but more building on Arseny's